Hey all, it's Mark Vega, Run Long After 60. If you haven't been here before, man, I'm so glad you made it. If you have been here before, well, you know what to expect. Every episode of the podcast starts with me out on a run, not in the studio, but moving. Today's episode's a little different because I have two guests on at the same time. But what's exciting is this is the first of the Run Streaker series. You ever heard of Run Streak? Whew. It's when you agree to run 1 mile a day and just keep at it for as long as you can, or as long as you want. Well, today, in the role of co-host, is Kevin Brunson. You might remember him from episode 12 of the podcast. He's been running a streak every day for 18 years. Yeah, 18 years. But today's other guest is Tim Hardy. He is a beast of an ultramarathon runner, and we'll hear all about his story. But he's also got a run streak going for 18 years. But Tim will never catch up to Kevin because Tim started his streak 81 days after Kevin started his. Now, thanks to this master list of run streakers, Kevin and Tim have known about each other for almost 2 decades. But they never spoke to each other until about a week ago, and then never saw each other in person, as it were, until we just recorded this episode. Run streakers breathe rarefied air. Very few runners commit to running at least 1 mile every single day for years, sometimes decades. And that's why I challenged both Tim and Kevin to find another run streaker and bring them on the podcast, maybe in a few months, because I think their stories are worth telling. And I learned so much watching and listening to these run streakers connect. I think you'll enjoy the episode too. More than anything else, this podcast is about consistency and resilience. And those two concepts probably aren't emphasized as clearly as when someone is pursuing, upholding, maintaining a run streak. If you like what you're hearing, or you know a run streaker, send them to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and have them check out the content. The audio versions of the podcast are released on Sunday mornings early, so you can catch them during your long run. And the full video versions are available Sundays at noon. Okay, I think that's it. I think it's time for our Run Streaker series to commence. It's time for Kevin Brunson, and it's time for Tim Hardy. Let's go. Welcome to another edition of the Run Long After 60 podcast. This is a special one. We haven't done this before. Kevin Brunson is a run streaker, 18 years and still going, right? He was on episode early on in the podcast, and I didn't even know what run streaks were. And then there is a thing about run streaks. If anyone's doing a run streak, that means you run every day, right? Our other guest, Tim Hardy, is a monster ultra runner who I think might share with us later that the reason he does ultras is just so he can keep up his run streak. He's also got 18 years in, but he's just like a couple of weeks or days or months or something behind Brunson. So I thought it would be really funny. How many days?
81 days behind
81
Brunson.
Days. Okay. So
I have
Tim,
been for a
welcome.
long time.
Welcome to the podcast, Tim. Really nice to see you.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. And before we even get started, I understand you just did a big ultra a couple days ago, right? Tell us just a little bit about that to give us the flavor of who the heck is on the podcast right now.
It was a, I wouldn't call it a big ultra. Well, I mean, it sounds kind of crazy. I did it. It's called this weekend. I did an event in Williamson, West Virginia, called Conquer the Wall. The Conquer the
Okay.
Wall 47-hour ultramarathon, and it's in a little town. Williamson's a little town, and it's called Conquer the Wall because it's a 2.05-mile loop. This safety wall, a 22-foot wall that well, it's a barrier wall. They have a creek, and it's a flood wall. Good gracious, I'm sorry, it's a flood wall. So the point of the event was you do as many loops as you can do in 47, or if you're in the 35-hour, in the 35-hour. I was in the 47-hour, and it was actually kind of a different ultramarathon for me because I entered the Rucksack division. So in the standard part of the race, they had a whole slew of people, and a lot of them are friends of mine that I've done other races with, like Ball State and stuff, that were doing the standard race where you're just going around the wall, doing as many loops as you can. And I was doing the same thing, except I had to wear a rucksack that had to weigh at least 25 pounds the whole time. So I've done more miles in 47 hours, but I got 86 miles in this one, and it actually, I mean, I was pretty happy with it. Every look, you had to wear your rucksack. I had to wear my rucksack the whole time. It was a kind of a different event. I've been training for it for 3 months. It was
Okay.
challenging. It was definitely challenging. Beat my feet up.
That sounds fantastic. You're welcome during this podcast if you like to just relax and not move around too much. Even now, I look at you and you're like, this guy's all he's got so much energy. I'm like, 86 miles, and it was just 2 days ago. Like, go ahead and rest for a second. But
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's not who you are, right? You're a former U.S. Army major, is that right? Veteran, yes.
I am. Yes,
Okay,
that's what I retired as a major. I enlisted
fantastic.
as a private first class and retired as a major.
Oh man, that's a whole other podcast. I started as I was just enlisted, and I ended up as an E5 sergeant in the Army, and
Well, thank you for your
loved it.
service.
Thank you. Yes,
Well,
sir. I'm so glad
it's a
you
great
are
experience. I
here.
actually, before I went to officer candidate school, I was a sergeant. That's what I dropped my packet as, and it was a great experience. I enlisted late, and it was we enlisted at the age of 30, and it was quite a quite a big decision. And
Wow.
the first day I'm at basic training, I'm getting away from running, but I wasn't a standard runner until I got into the Army. I was always a ball sport guy in high school, but once you get in the Army, and I got in the Army and volunteered and ended up in Ranger Regiment, you ran every 5 days a week at physical training. It was lace them up and let's go. I was
That,
running every day, so.
yeah, that was my story too. I didn't really start running for real until I was in the military. But
Right.
what we hear that Kevin Brunson's been up to every single day running like you have. The first question we hear from you, Tim, is how, if you didn't start really running till you were 30, or rather from some organized way, how has your why, the reason why we run in the first place, how has that why evolved over time? Because now you're in your 60s.
Yeah, considerably into my 60s at this point. I,
I'm the
I hate
old
saying
man of the
things
team.
like, yeah, I hate saying things like, running is who I am or whatever, but it keeps me fit. I got on the scale today, and literally I weighed exactly the same thing I weighed when I enlisted in the Army in 1991. And it keeps me fit. It gives me purpose. And, along the way, while I was in the Army, I started doing marathons and things like that. And then towards the end of my career, once I got to Fort Drum, you move around. I was like 8 marathons into doing a marathon every year or two, or every year, maybe 1 or 2 a year. And I got to Fort Drum, and I was like, okay, I'll start looking around for a marathon to do, and I came across an ultra marathon. I did that, and I love racing. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that's going to compete for the finish line or first or second or third place, but I just love doing these events, and the running is a means to an end for it, and it just helps me stay fit, helps me feel like it helps me feel like I'm aging better, and it's just become my daily routine.
Nobody, you should say that. You should say that out loud to people, because nobody says, yeah, I just got on the scale and I weigh the same today as I did 30 years ago or whatever. Nobody says that. That's pretty good.
There's been periods where I've been less. Ideally, like I weigh 185. Ideally, I'd like to be around 175, 177. I'd just be a way better runner. I just would be, but I'm still at 185. I mean, there's been plenty of time where I've spent over 190, and that's not ideal, but it kind of fluctuates. It
fluctuates.
Yeah, I don't do any. I love fitness. I love staying fit, but I don't. I'm not like Tom Brady where I don't. Like right now I'm having a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. It's my favorite beverage. I mean, I don't not partake in things like that, but the running is a means to an end for that.
All right, I love that. I love that. Kevin, remind us all before we hear Tim's story about how and why he started his streak. Kevin, thank you for jumping on. Thank you very much for tracking down Tim. I think this is a great idea because we got so many run streakers, and what we learned, and you can remind us. So how did you get into run streaking? How long you been doing, Kevin? And then tell us again, like, what's the organization that you run? And then there's categories. Like the person that's been running the longest in the United States, there's like people who've been doing this for 55 years. That's insane. But both of you guys are 18 years, and it just boggles my mind. So, Kevin, how'd you get into it again? And explain what the structure, how does it work? How does a run streak work?
Well, I was running a lot when I got basically 42. I needed to get out in the mountains. And like I told you, I'd been running my whole life since 5th grade. But I didn't start doing the long distance stuff till 42. And I think that's what sort of got me into the streak, because once you start going long and you start reading stories and doing research, remember I told you I read an article in the summer of 2007, Runner's World, and they highlighted what's now the International Streak Running Association. And so that's when I started. That's when I got going. And so the point I want to make is I had like 5-6 years running like 5 days a week,
Okay.
So I didn't just jump into it. And then when I did it and got to 100 days, that's when I said, this is it. I'm going to do it. So, and here we are.
Before I want to hear Tim's story, you were how old? 48?
48.
Okay. Yeah. What's the category? You guys are between, like when you go marathons, when you run a race, there's 5-mile age groups, right? 20 to 24, right. 25 to 29. Yeah. And in trail running, it's usually 10 years. But in run streaking, it's a little different.
Right. Well, and we're in the well-versed, I think. He's looking at, between... What year is that, from 15 to 20? Yeah, so, because we were laughing about that,
Yeah, it's like you're a novice or something for the first 10 years.
Right.
So, can you believe that? Like this, so you've been doing this for 18 years, and right now you're deemed good enough to be called well-versed. That's just well-versed. That's hilarious.
That's right.
Okay, you're well-versed. All right, Tim, when did you start? When did you have an understanding like, oh, this is a thing? And then I'm going to do this thing. What's your story about it?
As far as streaking goes, it's a sordid tale. It's a sordid tale, really.
Okay. Get ready for the explicit content. This is explicit content, audience members. Go ahead, Tim. Let it rip, baby.
No, it's a story of failure, really, and lack of discipline. early on in the Army, I was doing, after I became an officer lieutenant, I ran into a couple of friends that punked me into embarrassed me into doing a marathon and things like that. So I kept pursuing those. And
Wait. Slow down, man. What do you mean? You punked you into doing a marathon? Did they tell you had to run naked? What do you mean you punked you in?
no, that's actually a sordid tale too. So when was it? 1997. I was in a task force in Bosnia on
Okay.
Tuzla, Maine. And I was in a long range surveillance unit. I was just brand new, been just promoted from second to first lieutenant at Wahoo. And I was in, we had a task force where the division commander there, a guy named David Grange, was looking for Serbian war criminals. And he put
Okay.
together this huge task force. So we had 6 LURS teams from the organization I was in, and platoon of LURS long-range surveillance soldiers that go out and put eyes on the terrain, and basically they're embedded in the community they're hiding, and they spy. We had special forces, special communications people monitoring communications, and we had SEAL Team 2 as part of our group. And so we got a new division commander, and he kind of stood the whole thing down because the Army hadn't been at war in a long time, and his biggest question was, what happens if someone steps on a mine? And the guy's actually a really high-ranking general still right now, and it was like, well, we had all these things, blah blah blah. So we weren't doing much because the new commander stopped what we were doing. We were all hanging around, and a guy named Master Chief Patella was like, well, he was the chief of the Navy SEAL team. He was like,
Wait,
yeah, we're
Patella?
going to
Literally his name is Patella, kneecap. Okay, keep going.
Well, it was spelled Potella,
Oh,
and
I'm
he was
sorry.
a
Okay,
senior
good.
non-commissioned officer for the SEAL team.
Wow.
And
Okay.
he was like, well, 4 weeks from now on Thursday, we're going to run the first ever Tuzla Marathon. Our team's going to run a marathon. And we kept talking about that in operation meetings after operation meetings. I was the operation officer.
Okay.
There, I replaced a friend of mine who had to go to jump master school. So I was the operations officer. And every meeting we're talking about that. And then Tuesday, before the Thursday meeting, we're sitting there and Chief Patella brings it up. He's like, Thursday's the marathon. Anybody else doing it? And one of my best friends at the time, he was our LURS platoon leader at the time, Darren Evans. He was sitting there. He's like, yeah, Tim and I talked about that. We're gonna run that with you guys. It's like what? We hadn't even talked about it. Hadn't even talked about it whatsoever. He's like, yeah, we're running that with you.
Wait. It
And
went from like an agenda
seriously.
item to the race. It was on a piece of paper, and then it was the race. Oh my
I
God.
mean, we were talking about it. I kept, I had it on a slide and this and that. It went from, just briefing it to I'm running a marathon in 18 hours, and that didn't go well. That did not go well. So,
Were
but
you
it
in
was
boots?
interesting.
Were
And
you in
that's when I
shoes,
started
running
running
shoes?
marathons after that when we got out of theater. Yeah.
Right.
I only,
Yeah.
I only got to 18 miles on that. I couldn't walk anymore. I mean, I had done things like I had graduated from Ranger school, spent time in Ranger Regiment. I had never run over 15 miles ever. And I hadn't run more than 4. I mean, I was one of those guys in the Army. It's like run your 4 miles and get to the weight room,
Yeah.
Right.
at 18 miles, I had to walk off the course backwards because I couldn't walk forwards anymore. And it was so funny when I look back on it. It's like, I was running this whole thing, trying to run at an 8-minute mile pace because that's what you run in the Army, or 9-minute mile pace. There was never one point in the whole 3 hours where I drank any water or anything like that. It was like, I look back at that, like I blamed Darren Evans for that for the longest time, but it got me and
It's his
Darren and
fault.
another friend of ours into marathons and pursuing those for quite a while. And I've been doing them ever since, really, marathons and ultramarathons. Getting back into starting my streak in 2007, I was looking around for a marathon to run in upstate New York around Fort Drum because that's where I was, and I came across this thing called the Finger Lakes 50 and 50K. It was a 50-mile ultra and a 50K ultra, and I ran that, and I loved it. It was a trail race. I'd never done a trail race before. It was my first ultra. I finished that, so of course I signed up for 3 or 4 more ultras, and And, I had some success. I did 3 50Ks and I did the Can Lake 50 miler, and those all went well. And at that point, I was at that point where I was running 25 or 30 miles a week, knowing I needed to run further, but, adding that up. Okay, wow. You know, I got to 100 miles for the month. Woo, and but I wasn't doing enough miles to do great at ultra running. But at the end of that year, I came across a race called the Hellgate 100K. And that's a trail race that starts in Fincastle, Virginia, and it goes through the Shenandoah Mountains. It's point to point, and it starts at midnight. And it's a really challenging race. It's actually a 66-mile race. And I hadn't been training enough, and I timed out. I timed out at like the 22-mile aid station. And I mean, I'm not, I'm not a world-class athlete or anything, but I had never failed anything. And I mean, there was a lot of reflection after, for the next 48 hours. And it was just like, the bottom line is you've got to get more miles. Cause I'd always, I'd like, okay, here's a running world training program. Here's this, I'll run this amount on this day. I'll run the, and, I would get, 3 or 4 runs in a week, but half the time they weren't great. I just wasn't getting enough miles in. So on December 13th, after failing at the Hellgate 100K that was on December 10th, I was like, you know what? My mileage just sucked this year. I'm just going to see if I can run every day the rest of the month, December 13th, through the end of the month. And I did. And then, like Kevin said, I'm like, let's take this thing out to 100 days. And then I did. And not surprisingly, my mileage, of course, per week increased. I started getting at least 50 miles a week in because you're running 7 days a week, even if you're just running 6 or 7 miles a day, or, you run 5 miles a day and get a 10-mile run. It's like, boom, suddenly it's 50 miles a week. And that's decent mileage to finish a 50K ultra, or certainly a marathon, or even 100K if you really got to stretch it. Then when I got to 100, I said, let's all right, let's do a year.
Let's keep
And
going.
I've never stopped. I've just never stopped. It's like, it's just part of my routine. And I don't do it because I'm like Mr. Runner. I love running. It's where I reset myself every day. And I'm nowhere near as fast as I used to be. I mean, I can bring it for a while when I need to bring it, especially when I'm coming up on a finish line. I can really bring it. But, my pace is slower, but that doesn't break my heart. I'm just
Where
I'm
do you
young and
run,
I'm still
Tim?
doing it. What's that?
Where do you run?
I live in Marietta, New York, which is I'm right above Lake Otisco in the Eastern Finger Lakes, and generally every night I just step out my door and I've got a couple, 3 or 4, 5 or 6 routes, and Rusty, my red Aussie, picks the route and we go basically. So when I've got races coming up, it's we'll get out in the morning or get out at lunch, and then at night it's always 5 or 6 miles a night, or sometimes longer, depending on whichever route we take. And a lot of it's weather dependent too.
Are you on trails or is this street?
I do a lot more on the road, but I love doing trails. Upstate New York's got trails just everywhere. And on the weekends we'll get out and like I can go over to Labrador Hollow and do trails all up and down the ridge lines there. That's 20 minutes away. I mean, we live on 22 acres. We've got a small horse ranch, and there's trails that run all out in our woods out here, and it connects to a couple of my neighbors' properties, and they don't have any problem with me being out there on a daily basis. But so I break it up. And if it depends too, Mark, that's a great question. It depends on what type of race I've got coming up. If I've got a trail race coming up, I spend a lot more time trying to get the trails than I do out on the road at night. But every night I'm out on my road. I mean, it's a mile and a half to the bottom of the west side of my hill, and it's the Oak Hill, the east side of Oak Hill. That's the bottom of that's a mile and a quarter from my house. So whichever way I go, I'm coming back. I've got a decent climb on the way back, but I'm out in the country, and there'll be nights we're out on the road and I don't even see any traffic if I'm out there after 9 o'clock.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Of the 18 years of your streak, Tim, how many of those years were spent in this environment?
Well, I've been in New York State. I've been in New York State the whole time, but
Okay.
from 2006 to 2010, I was living outside of Fort Drum in way upstate New York, and then we retired to Marietta, which is part of the same county as Onondaga. Well, it's part of Onondaga County, the same. That's where Syracuse, New York is. So I'm really in central New York. Um, so most of my streak has been based in New York. In October 2008, I deployed for 14 months to Afghanistan. So I kept my streak going there the whole time. And when I redeployed from there, we'd already gotten our get out of the Army house where we're at, or we were looking for it. But I was a geographical bachelor at the Pentagon the last year I was in the Army. A
Wow.
huge part of my streak was I ran all over Washington, D.C. the last year I was in the Army. And that was just awesome. Just a great place to run.
How many times did you cover just a mile, do you think? Like by way of percentage, is it 50% of the 18 years?
That's a great question. The first year I was doing this, there was a couple times where it'd be like, holy crap, I forgot to run today. It'd be like 11:30 at night and I'd get out and do 1 or 2 miles, do a 1 mile out and back and come back. So there were like a handful of those, but I generally almost never run a day where I've gone under at least 4 miles, really. I mean, I looked at some numbers. I'm averaging 7 miles a day for my streak, all things combined.
What?
I was figuring that out early today. Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
for all 18 years, or you mean right
Yeah.
now? That's the pace.
No, my total, like today is 6,663, and I went over 47,000 miles on December 12th for my streak. So all since I've been streaking, and so I've had a lot of days that were under 7 miles, but I've had a whole slew of days that were way over 7 miles. But I average over the course of my streak, I've averaged right at 7 miles per day.
That's great.
But there's a whole slew of like from after I did the Badwater 135 in 2012. I've been training up for that for so long. I went through like a down phase as far as ultra running, doing a couple a year, and I wasn't running that much. I was running 4 or 5 miles a day and just getting out there and doing 1 or 2 50Ks a year before I really got back into it and really started ramping up doing 5 or 10 ultras a year. But you have down cycles. It's kind of maybe a recovery thing or just a boredom thing. But
well, whatever it is, you got 130 races on Ultra Sign Up, and you have a beautiful array. We'll want to talk about this at some point. The structure of a DNS did not start, and the structures of DNFs did not finish. People put those in a category that's unique, but people don't necessarily agree on what it means to them. Kevin, remind us how many. I'm going to start, if I can, Tim. I'll start following you on Strava, but on Kevin's, because I started following him, I became mindful. Every once in a while, there'll be a day when it's just a couple of miles, and in my mind, I feel like, oh, he saved it, right? And every once in a while, on Kevin's Strava label, it'll say, streak saver, like, oh shit, I got to get out there. So. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I embrace my memory as it is, no matter what's going on. But man, it would not be beyond me to just kind of forget about it. You get caught up in things. So
that first year, there were at least 5 days where it's like, holy crap, it's 11:30. I got to get out the door right now. Just stop.
Well, and that's why I like.
There were 2 times I actually got out of bed, like, oh my goodness.
Right.
And that was while I was still in the Army. I had to be to work at 5:45, But the good thing about the Army is there's almost never a day I didn't run first thing in the morning. I mean, it was like, you go to work in your PTs, you go run. But when I really was going, generally Army PT is like an hour. And when I was really doing ultras and stuff on Fort Drum, I do PT with everybody, short run, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever we're doing. And then I go run the Reaver Ridge Loop. It's a perfect 10K loop around Fort Drum. And get back to work and don't tell anybody, but I didn't always shower or anything. I'd step right into my BDUs and go right to work, you know, but, there were a few days that I was like, oh my goodness, it's 11 o'clock at night. Do you know where your running shoes are?
Right. Kevin, when's the last time that happened to you? Like literally that scenario, like, oh shit, I gotta go.
It hasn't happened recent. I mean,
Not for a
it is
long
so
time.
ingrained. And for
Yeah.
me, I'm an ADHD, so for me, I got to get out type thing. I feel like
Yeah.
I must not have did my run or what's going on. But in the beginning, I always went in the morning. And my
Right.
story is a little bit different. He was talking about mileage. My mileage is right around 6. I think right now, I haven't calculated, but I
Mileage.
think it's like 5.7, 5.8 average miles a day. And the way I got those is I was doing marathon training when I did it. In fact, it was on the day before a marathon in 2007, the cow one, right? We talked about the bell and the cowbell. And so when I did that, I was training like you see those marathon programs. And I was doing rest days and I was doing like a mile because I was going for full recovery. Because I was qualifying for Boston. So it was a lot of work. I had to do speed, I had to do hills, I had to do all the stuff. So I never was one of those guys. Some people like they commit to 3.5 miles a day. I just went with the program. A mile, so rest day I'd do at least a mile. And I never tried to goose that, like make it 3 or make it 4 because I believe in recovery. So I'm going
Sure.
for if I can get it, I'm going to get it. But I still did a lot just from long runs. So I consistently did long runs, which are on a marathon program. And I mean, we rarely went below, 18s once we got in shape. We were never dropping below that on weekly long runs. So it was common. And it still is when I'm training for 50Ks to, go out 4 or 5 hours.
Sure.
And we're in the mountains. We got to do the vert too. It's harder to get because we have a lot of vert here, Tim. So,
Yeah.
but everything I do, I get a lot of vert, except for now that but like
Vert's
this
good.
marathon killed me. I mean, I'm still not recovered. So I've been doing some minimum miles the last 3 weeks. So
Marathons are hard events.
they
I,
are.
I, I
And
stopped doing street marathons because my friend told me, you ever hear about trail running? I'm like, what's that? And I'm like, go outside in the hills and the dirt. I'm like, oh, that sounds much better on my bones. He's like, yeah, man, it is. So remind me
yeah,
the rules again, because under the structure, you have to complete. It's not just starting a mile in every 24 hours. You have to complete a mile within this 24-hour period, or how does it work? What's the
that's the
rules
way
about
I
it?
understand it. Yeah. And that's the
Yeah,
way
me
I've
too.
always done it. You have to see, he traveled, he went overseas. So that's a whole different, you got to do the math on that. And I
What do you
don't
mean?
Yeah.
know, I've never had to do it. I've only done East Coast, West Coast,
What do you
which
mean?
isn't
You've got to do at least 1 mile every 24-hour day. And when I deployed to Afghanistan, this is
right.
going to sound absurd, but I literally went for a 2 mile run, a 1 mile out and back up my road at 2:30 in the morning before I had my wife bring me to the airport to drop me off. And then when I got off the plane in Afghanistan, I got my soldiers all bunked up, and then I went for a run on Route Disney like immediately. So it was still within the consecutive 24-hour period, but
Right.
that it was close. I mean, it was
But
close. But
okay, but it's based on where you started, like what your time zone was when you start the streak, or
yeah, and I traveled back against the clock, but it was within consecutive days inside the 24-hour time frame window.
Okay, and it's your 24-hour clock. It's you just did it. Now you have 24 hours to do it again, and 24 hours to do it again. Doesn't matter what time zone you're in. You have right. Doesn't matter what time it is. You within that
I
24
mean,
hours.
that's the way I looked at it. I tried to keep it tighter than say, well, Afghanistan's 8 hours and 45 minutes, so the clock's different. Maybe I have 32 hours. It's just like, no, I'm getting off the plane and running. Thank you.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that's
We'll
the
just
right.
call it
Now
good.
you guys have been
Just
doing this
call it
long
good.
enough. When
Yeah.
you started this 18 years ago, I have a watch now, right? Or I have a calendar. I have everything
Right.
digital. But when I
Right.
read on the thing, and Kevin told me a little bit about this, Tim, when you started, were you taking paper notes or how?
Yeah, I still have all those logs. I still have all of them. Like, I mean, pick one. Like the runners world log. This one, they're all like in the back corner of my desk. But I translated all of them to an Excel spreadsheet too, and now I track everything in my spreadsheet. Like, I've got 2 Coros Apex GPSs, and that downloads to my phone, and I transfer that over to an Excel spreadsheet that's been tracking. It tracks all my miles since time immemorial, since my streak started. But yeah, at first it was a wall calendar. Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that! Look at that! But then you had to incorporate that into a notebook. So it's like, okay, you know. And when the first year you're doing, I'm doing this for a year, I'll have the calendar. But then it's like, well, where's this all going to get compiled? And
Right.
it turns out to me, I've got my Excel spreadsheet open. It's like, there it is. It's all like, there it is.
You know what that
It's just,
sounds like to me?
it's just a vertical chart, it's like January, February, March. And you just look at it, it's like a bunch of different numbers, but to me, it means something. I even tracked my dog's miles. He's got his own tabs now. There are nights, he takes the night off, and I go, there are nights he'll be on the couch like, no, I don't see you getting ready to go. And I just go by myself. But it's a straight, I'm sure Kevin's the same way. I never go anywhere without a run packed. I've got a little bag with my running shoes, clothes, whatever. When I was at the last year I was in the Army, I was a geographical bachelor at the Pentagon because, we already had grandchildren. My wife was already situated. And so every 2 or 3 weeks, I'd travel back from the Pentagon to our house here in upstate New York. And I'd stop somewhere along the way and go for a ride. Like, I know all sorts of great trail routes in central Pennsylvania off Route 81. Just, there's a power line, there's a trail there. Here we go.
Why is it called geographical bachelor? I like that. Can I take advantage of that somehow? What is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's it mean?
That's the military term when you're working somewhere and you don't bring your family. Your family stays back where they are. Like,
Okay.
you could be sent somewhere to work. The longer you're in the military, like they're not going to send the Army's never going to send a specialist somewhere to work. I could have moved my whole I could have moved my whole household to the Pentagon, but it was like, we knew after that tour I was getting out of the Army. In fact, I was supposed to stay at the Pentagon for 3 years, but after a year I hit 20 years and it just didn't fit anymore. So I ended up retiring. I'd spent enough time away from my daughter, and she already had my grandkids. Just didn't fit as much anymore.
When did you retire from the military?
Um, exactly November 1st, 2010.
So you started the streak you were streaking for 2 years before you retired. Is that about right? I do the math right there.
3 years.
No, it was December 13th, 2007. So it was almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
At what point does your family, and Kevin's question for you too, at what point does your family acknowledge, like, oh my gosh, you're doing this, you're really doing it, right? That's the first date. And then the second date, how long did it take your family to say, oh my God, are you still doing this?
You want to go, Jim? Go for it.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. That it was probably like most of the first year, but I mean, I wasn't a young kid when I started it, so it was kind of like, the household chores, stuff like that, whatever, you get to those, but there are certain things that you're doing that you're just doing. And, there, I mean, we figured out that I got serious about it. You know, we go do errands and stuff like that. And on the way home, I'd say, pull over and step out of the vehicle and run home from there. Or, you know, we got to go do
Hey,
this.
this
It's
is
like, okay,
5 miles. Yeah.
I'm going to run. Okay, we're going to do this at 6 o'clock at night. So I'm going to head that way at 5:15 and you're going to pick me up en route, that kind of thing. So that's when everybody figured out I was at least serious about it. And, you know, at the time, it really worked anyways because I was in the Army and the citizens of the country were paying me to stay fit. Plus, it keeps you alive on the
Yeah.
battlefield. But
Yeah.
it just, you know, once it starts, it's part of who you are. And I can't imagine who I'd be if I wasn't doing it at this point. Quite honestly, I'd be like, okay, I don't run anymore every day, or I don't run every day anymore. What do I do now? Kind of a thing. I'd be driving people
Right.
crazy probably.
Don't
So,
stop, Tim. Keep going.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What about you,
Yeah,
Kevin? Those two.
it's funny. My situation is totally different because I saw myself as a runner in the 5th grade. So I've always like had a passion for running. When I started the streak though, so back this was in 2007. It was like sort of a negative if you ran every day. People would
Oh
say, "Do
yeah.
you run every day?" And it was like a negative. I remember having to say no a couple times, and I had read the article in the summer. And then I also had a marathon. I started the day before a marathon called the Cowtown in 2007, October. And I just like, I'm going to do it. And then that was it, but it took me 100 days to be totally locked in. But then after that, I knew that I was going to go. And Tammy knows how I am, my wife, so she knew that she was going to support me. Right?
At what
Keeps you
point did
healthy.
it become, for both of you, at what point did it become, they're cheering you on? Like they might not be talking about it anymore, and it's not like a
Yeah.
coordination logistics things anymore.
No.
But
Right.
I bet they have an expectation that you can't stop.
You want to answer that, Tim?
That's a good question. You know, everybody in my family just knows I keep doing this, and I think, you know, I think my daughter would be more disappointed if I stopped doing it than maybe I would at some point. But it's just, you know, it's definitely a lifestyle, and you know, it overcomes a lot of other bad habits. It keeps you healthy, keeps you fit, and it gives you purpose every day, more than anything else. I mean, we're not young, and we all know people that have already got into their 60s and they don't have a lot going on, and or God forbid they're retired and they don't have any real direction every day. My running streak, I've got something I'm damn well going to do every day. You know, I mean, the rest of my day might not go the way it's supposed to, but I'm going to do this, and it's going to be a mental and a physical reset every day, and that's good for everybody around me, and everybody knows that. You know, I mean, they may not say that, but it was annoying for family members. You know, the first few months I was doing it, it was like, okay, he's committed to this, and he's just going to do it till he does it. And the day after I stop doing it and I tell everybody, you know, 2 days later, no, I'm not running anymore, they'll be shocked and maybe appalled. But everybody just assumes,
Why?
you know,
Then you got to explain why you
even
stopped,
my
right?
brothers and their families, you know, I don't bore them with ultra running or running or anything, but they all know I'm doing this. And, you know, it was like my brother organized a family reunion get together that we never had. That I met family members. You know, this was like 9 or 10 years ago. I mean, I met distant family members I'd never met. It was at his house in upstate New Hampshire. And towards the end of it, I just stopped and I had to go for a 3 mile run and come back. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, he does that. Don't worry about it. It's not strange. It's strange for all of us, but he'll be right back. He's running up to the end of the road. He'll be back. Trust me, it's fine. I mean, so,
I love that.
yeah.
Now, talk to me about other people on the run streak list. So when I called Kevin. I don't remember. I might have seen a Kevin Strava post or something. I don't remember recently what made me think of this. Well, here's the issue that I was talking about, not how I came to you, which is great.
Oh,
And Tim, this is the greatest thing, Tim, is that maybe, I don't know, it's because we're old or what, but I think it might be this. I'm reaching out to people who I think are interesting and I want to talk to them. So that's all it is. So
Right.
after that, no one have to stop, right? So, but pointing in different directions. But Kevin and I had a conversation and we were just laughing because it was just goofy. And part of it is because in my brain, I never really contemplated or spent any time thinking about, wait, I've never done anything in my life 18 years in a row of anything except stayed alive. But I wasn't in the military that long. I wasn't a party animal that long. I wasn't anything for 18 years, really. Although father, I can say that. Okay, I've been a father, right? But that I really didn't have to log the miles for that one. It was, right? Thank God, knock on wood.
They just give you the award.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to run it.
Yeah, that's right. So then I thought about Tim. I thought that list that I'd never seen before, and a computer's slow, so I can't put it up on the screen now, but I will in post. But there's what's the name of the organization where all the streaks are listed? What's that website?
The International Streak Runners Association.
That's the association.
Yeah, it's international now. It used to be, what was it?
I think it was the United States Streak Runners
There
Association.
you go.
Okay, so but the URL is like runeveryday.com or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Like that?
It's runeveryday.com.
Right. So when you look at that list, what's interesting about it, Tim, is that it's rarefied air because it's global, but there's billions of people on the planet. I've never seen even if I look at the people like you, people who finished Cocodona or finished Badwater and Cocodona and the Monster 300, and you can load it up so that the they filter down to just a few people. But this website, people who run a run streak, it does that automatically. And you can't buy your way in at a 10-year point, right? You can't do that. Once you get on the list, you're on the list. So I was thinking about it and I looked on the list and I thought, aside from a conversation like this very conversation, do the run people doing a streak, the likelihood that they live nearby or even know each other is next to zero. So talk to me about that. So Kevin, the two of you have been aware of each other for years, or talk to me about the connective tissue between each of you and other people on the list. How has that worked?
I was more involved in Facebook when I first got into it. And so you would see, and there's a Facebook group, and I used to interact with that group, but somehow when I saw Tim's numbers, like on Ultra Sign Up, because I would see him on there. Well, and he sent me a note, hey, dude, I'm still 82 days behind you. It was something like that, right? And I go, oh, yeah. And then so I'd look him up. And then I'd go, oh, my God, this guy is doing some serious ultras. So I sort of followed his stuff when I would see it. I just sort of, check it out.
Was that on Facebook or was that on Daily Mile? Were you on Daily Mile?
I never was on, where I was is I was running ahead. So your story about the logs, I love it. But I couldn't deal with that. I mean, I told Mark I didn't have the headspace to do a manual log. There's no way in hell. So I immediately joined Running Ahead, and it was an online. They always back everything up.
Well, I might have been on there. That might have been where
I was on Running Ahead. I was Ardent Running because I have an insurance brokerage, Ardent Insurance. And so I was on there for years. And then in 2018, I was coaching a guy and he was on Strava. And so that's when I joined in 2018, and everything's there. So I don't have any manual. I have manual nothing.
Right. I really ought to join Strava. I don't know why I don't just join there and log everything there.
It's easier.
It'd be another place to
Yeah.
have everything.
Right.
Maybe, I mean, I should have just done it when I had my birthday this weekend or something, or maybe next year
But
if
I
my
mean,
streak's
if you
still
got
going.
all the data, that's great. You
Right.
got it. So all you got to do is update now, which is
Mhm.
relatively easy, right?
Right.
You already
I've
have.
got, I've got, I've got my system built. I mean, I'm always going to have a
Yeah.
laptop and with Excel
Right.
So those were
but
websites that you was
Yeah.
there ever a place where the other people who are also doing a streak could watch you and monitor you? Where is that at? Only at
Well, that would
that
be basically if you're like, answer that question. I mean,
stalking somebody? I mean, I don't know how you would do it.
well,
well, you would,
every year the United States Streak Running Association sends you something, and you know we assume you're still running your streak. If you're not, tell us and tell us when it ended. And if you don't say, yeah, I quit on my birthday, whatever, no, you don't even have to respond, but you respond, they just keep compiling your numbers. But besides that, I haven't had a lot of interaction with too many other streakers. I've just met a couple through ultra running that had longer streaks than mine at the time. And, if you're
right.
on the ultra running has a thing called the ultra list. It's like an email list, and everybody on there will tell you running streaks are stupid. If you want to be good at ultras, you should take days off and stuff like that. But there are a couple of guys on there. There are a couple of guys that
Right.
I'm decent friends with in the ultra running community that had really long streaks when I first started. One of them's a guy named Fred Murolo, who is well on his way to 100 100s. And he had it. Fred, I don't know if Fred would even like me saying
Is
this,
he
but he
active
posted to
now? Or?
Facebook. Yeah, Fred had a 38-year streak until COVID, and he
Okay.
spent time in the emergency room for 3 days because COVID almost killed him, and that broke his streak. And I don't know if he's got another one going. He's a great ultra runner. Another guy named Mike Melton, when I got started, big timing guy in the ultra running community. When I was like 2 or 3 years into my streak on the ultra running list, and he had like a 16 or an 18-year streak going. That eventually, I think he let it go around 20 or 24 years, and now he's got a new streak going. But I don't spend any time on the whatever the United States Streak Running Association's Facebook page is. I just don't. And I think part of the reason for that was, the first 10 years, there are guys like Mark Washburn, who's the president of the thing, that had been running for 48 years. And here's me, Tim Hardy, 5 years,
Yeah.
just some plebe novice. It's like, I mean,
Well, I know, and that's why I always
it's
made the
like,
point.
man, I carry
Yeah.
a rifle for a living. I kick doors in and chase bad guys, but I feel like I'm not even on the JV with these streak runners,
Oh,
so I'm just
yeah.
not going to talk to them over there.
Yeah, I
But
hear you.
nobody's
They're very,
like that I've ever talked to
yeah.
about it. It was just
So
like
I was
novice.
involved when I got started, actually. I would talk to them because they
It's a great
actually checked
idea.
my log. Now
Yeah.
people, I mean, my number moves up and down. And I'm thinking, what the hell? How am I going backwards? Have you ever noticed that where you're at like,
No, I
it
haven't
just
paid that much
happened to me.
attention
I
to it.
was at like 131 and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
I'm,
it's like, wait a
someone
minute. How
jumped
did
me,
somebody?
you know.
Yeah, how did?
Wait a
Like, how
minute.
did? I could just say, wait a minute. How did Hardy jump ahead of me? I mean, it's a streak. It's a day-to-day streak. It's like, well, I ran 3
Yeah.
times today, so my streak moved forward 3 days. No, that's
Yeah.
weird. I think what happens there is somebody shows up that says, well, I've actually been running a streak for 12 years, and here's all the logs
That's
for it,
exactly right.
and then they
Yeah.
certify it. So
Right.
I mean, even if I'd been streaking for even if I just heard of them now, I'd have a hard time reaching out and saying, "Yeah, my name is Tim. I've been doing this for 18 years. Plug me in there." I'd be like, "I don't know
Yeah,
if I can do
no, that's suspicious. The beauty of this is that no matter how many miles Tim Hardy logs as an ultra beast, no matter how many miles, he can never, ever, ever catch up to those 88
No.
days that you're trailing from Brunson.
Come on.
It's
No,
crazy.
He's
gotta
younger. He's
gotta
a kid.
outlast him.
You're 64, right, Tim?
I just turned 65. I hate saying that out loud,
Okay.
but I'm a
Happy
50
birthday.
senior citizen.
Congratulations. You did it. You made it.
So I
Saturday.
just turned
Yeah.
67, so we're close. But
Yeah.
I'm still your senior. I want
I hope
respect.
I hope I never catch you. I hope I never catch
Yeah.
you.
That's the
Well,
kind of
and I
record
feel the
when
same
attrition.
way. Yeah, that's a good point. What he just said, by the way, that's how I think. It's really personal to me. It really doesn't matter what anyone else is doing in the streak world. I'm just like happy to keep my streak going. And it's like a story that hasn't ended. I mean, every day is a different story, a different just getting your run done. So I like that aspect
It's
of
an
it.
accomplishment. It is.
Right.
I think that's, I mean, it's just really simple. I mean, it could be 10, 12, well, a mile for me is probably 10 minutes or sometimes 12, unless I'm running down the hill. But it just,
Yeah.
it feels like an accomplishment. It's like, okay, I did that today. And
Right.
just keeps going. So I hope I never catch it unless you get to the point where you're like, you know what, this has been enough and I'm good. Thank you.
I don't think it's
So
going to happen, man.
Yeah, man.
no,
I can't
You never
see
know when
either
you
one
get
of
hit
you.
by a truck, though.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
never
there's
know.
that kind of attrition.
Someone
But I don't
else
see
can end it for you.
Yeah, I
So
don't see
check
you guys
this
being
out.
like Forrest Gump and just,
Yeah.
you're done.
hey,
You're not going to Forrest Gump it, I don't think.
I have a
no, but I
story on
mean,
this. So at 18 years, I went to Tammy and said, I could make it clean right here, just like end the streak. And that's my wife who's supported me the whole time. And she goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And immediately she starts, like, why would you do that? Just keep going. So that was pretty funny because I thought if you're going to quit, it could be clean, right, Tim? And
yep,
then if you start another one down the road, because people have multiple streaks,
yep,
they'll
yeah.
retire one streak and then get, whatever issue happened that made them stop, fix that,
Or they get
and then
injured
they'll
or
start
sick,
another one. Yeah.
right? Or they just realize they miss it. They miss the constant,
Right. And people have done
almost,
that.
right.
Yeah.
It's like, they decide they want to stop because they're tired of it. Then a year later, they're like, they, they lose whatever it is, focus or, that's my point of the day that belongs to me. And I'm
Right.
doing it, kind of a thing.
Right.
Even though it benefits your family because it keeps you healthy and
It does. Yeah. It benefits everyone. It really does, in my opinion. In my life, it does.
Yeah. Tim, in your Ultra sign up page, there's probably 15 races that you started but didn't finish. Now,
yeah,
each one of those DNFs, if the most important thing that you're doing every day when you wake up that's unassailable, will never stop, is covering the streak, every time you start a race, even if you DNF it, you still maintain the streak, right?
sure. Yeah.
If you start
It's
the
running
race,
it's running that day. I mean, there's been races that I've DNF like 3 years ago. I DNF'd the Rim to River 100 at mile 87. So that kept my streak going for 2 days. I just didn't finish
Right.
the damn race because I
Yeah.
I
timed
see
out.
that. November
I mean, the
2020.
most
Talk about,
important, every year I have goals. It's like I want to do this race, I try to do that race, this and that. But the most important thing to me is keeping my streak going. The races are they're great. I love ultras. I love the community, but my streak's more important to me. If I stop doing ultras, I'll still keep my streak going, I think.
Tell Mark about, I read about a post you made in Facebook a while back, and you said, "I can't stop myself. I'm an addict. I signed up for 10 ultra races today."
Yeah.
I read that. I go, "Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He's got it bad, man."
Yeah. Yeah, my race schedule got a little big this year. There's like, wow, look at that one. I'm going to do that one. And there's a bunch of them I like to keep trying to do. I'm
Right.
in this I've got a couple of friends that have completed over 100 milers, and I'm so far from that. But I'm thinking I'm gonna try to have a couple of big years and see if if I can get out to 50, maybe I can stop doing 100s and just concentrate on doing shorter stuff. But I like doing longer races for sure.
So from February through November, yeah, you've got a tremendous amount of races. There's a lot. There are a lot of hundreds. There's a 420-mile self-supported. What the heck is that? The Fool's Ultra, Revenge of Champy, 420, unafraid, self-supported.
Yeah,
what is that race?
That is the title of that's terrible. I talked to the race director a couple times, but he's not changing it. The Fool's Ultra. Have you ever heard of the last annual Vol State 500K race in Lazarus Lake? It's a 314-mile race across Tennessee, and you get 10 days to finish it. And it's the first race of its kind. You've got to do 50 kilometers a day from the Thursday where the race starts through the end of the race. You're going to do at least 50K, 31.1 miles a day, or they pull you off the course. And it's a multi-day, what they call a journey run or a journey race. And I love that race. I've done it 5 times. And the guy that started the Fool's Ultra, it's the New York State version of that. Joshua Swink had done Vol State 3 times, and he started the Fool's Ultra, and he calls it the Fool's Ultra because you're going to be a fool to do it. But it starts at Niagara Falls on the western edge of New York State, and it finishes at Lake Champlain at the eastern end of New York State. You cross all New York State on foot. And I did the first one 2 years ago. And last year I didn't have that much time off, so I did the shorter. There's a 226-mile version of it that starts on the east end of Lake Ontario and crosses all of upstate New York. And this year I'm signed back up for the 414. I mean, I've got the challenge with those.
My eyeballs are on my screen over here, so in post I'm going to try to cover over my face, looking away from you guys. But here's the coolest thing. Check this out, Kevin. Whenever when we finish ultra runs on Ultra Sign Up, and there's a lot of participants, they take your data and your finish time and your age and how many participants, and they give you they add to the calculation of your ranking based on your age and miles and this and that.
Right.
But in the structure of the algorithms and the data that they've embraced over time, if there are fewer than 10 finishers, you're out of luck. You don't get ranking. You don't get the data because there's not enough people. So this guy that we're talking with right now, look at him in the eyeball. This crazy guy, Tim Hardy. He's got a handful of races, the Vol State races and the Fool's Ultras, and there's less than 10 finishers. So this guy's finished these races a couple of times, but you're such a beast, but they don't. That's when they should give you the ranking algorithm data, but look at you, man. That's insane.
That's one of the things I like about Ultra signups. Like, I'm signed up for the last annual Heart of the South, which is also by the guy that did Vol State.
Okay.
And there's a 350 or a 400-mile version this year, and that's in June, and I've done that twice before. And Ultra signup says I'm going to finish in the bottom third. And I never finish in the bottom third of those races because I'm good for 50 miles a day, when I'm out on the course. And most people can't do that. And I'm not saying that because I'm all that in a bag of chips or anything like that. I've just done a lot, not a lot, but I've done like 15 races where I've gone over 300 miles. So I know how to do them. But Ultra Signup always says, well, all these other people are going to finish ahead of you. And I'm just like, keep saying stuff like that, please. Because in 2022, I actually finished in the top 10 or 12 at last annual Heart of the South. And I outlasted much better ultra runners than me, but none of them had done a race that long before. But Fools never has more than 3 or 4 people doing it because Josh won. He has it in September. And for some reason, people just don't want to do races that long. He's had it in the end of September into October, and that's a weird weather period in upstate New York for sure. But they're really cool events where, the beauty of Vol State, you park your vehicle at the finish line, you get on the bus on a Wednesday, and you drive to the start line 314 miles away. And when you get on that bus, you've only got one thing to do the rest of the week. Or the next 10 days.
Right.
It's like, get back to your vehicle on foot. That's it. That's all. And it sounds kind of crazy, but it's like,
It's perfect.
there's like there's a purity of focus there that you don't have
Right.
anywhere else in day-to-day life. It's like, you're just out on the white line for as long as you can go every day. It's actually.
Thank you for explaining that. As I'm looking, I'm like, well, how does a 500K in the middle of, where are we at? Like Georgia? Like what? What's happening? How do we get there?
Vol State crosses the state of Tennessee.
Tennessee.
It actually
Georgia.
starts in the east bank of the east bank of the Mississippi River in Hickman, Kentucky. That's the start. Well, it actually starts on the west bank, because you've crossed over from the east bank on a ferry. The whole race field has. You get off this is a crazy race.
Wait. Is the race happening on the ferry, or no? You're just taking the ferry like in New York.
So
what?
This is where the race starts. It starts in Darena Landing, Missouri, on the west bank of the Mississippi River. We've all taken a bus at that point. This is Thursday morning. I'm not doing Vol State this year, but it's the second Thursday every July. The day before, you parked your car 314 miles away. You rode a bus all day Wednesday. You stayed in a hotel in Hickman, Kentucky, or actually Union City. You get on the bus, you go to the ferry. Everybody gets off with their pack off the bus. You hand the race director your $5 to get on the ferry. It's a car ferry. Everybody walks onto the ferry. It crosses over to Darena Landing, up the Mississippi. Everybody gets off the ferry. Lazarus Lake lights a cigarette at 7:30 in the morning to start the race, and the race starts. You get back on the ferry, cross the Mississippi, and then you're on foot from Hickman, Kentucky to Castle Rock Ranch in Trenton, Georgia for 314 miles.
Wow.
And you've got to do at least 50 kilometers a day, or they pull you off the course. I mean, it's 30. You got to do at least 31 miles a day. The first year I did it, it took me 9 days and 7 hours. I destroyed my feet literally in the first 2 days. And 2 times since then, I've done it under 7 days. And once I went under 6 days. But there's such a purity of focus in races like that, because you're just, you get all spread out after the first 5 or 6 hours. So there's little clusters of runners. And the state of Tennessee loves the race. I mean, you cross all of Tennessee from the northwest corner of Tennessee to the southeast corner of Tennessee in the middle of July. And it's wild. It's really hot. It's really humid.
Are you on trails, or are you on the roads a lot of time?
You're on roads. You're on roads.
The whole thing's road.
Yeah, you take
I have a friend who lives in Reno who did it.
Yeah.
2023, this was your 9-day event, but you were overall second in the race. And so overall second, you're 62 years old. That's the one that took 9 days, 12 hours, 31 minutes.
No, that was
2023.
That was the Cross of New York one where I came in second. There was
I'm sorry. You were talking about Ball State.
And I'm really bummed out I came in second. There was only a handful of people in the race. I still feel like I should have won that. But a guy named John Giesler won it. And if you knew who John Giesler was, it's no embarrassment when he finishes ahead of you in an ultra. But I really wanted to beat him. I almost had his ass. I almost caught him on the last day.
Are you doing, and you do it 48 hour, 47 hours. So talk about formats, Tim, because this is your very unique athlete in that today's conversation and talking about these are very unique.
They are.
They're so unique that it makes me feel like you running Badwater is just normal. And then these are the unique ones.
Badwater is one of the best events I've ever done. I love that event. But there's different formats for ultra running, and ultra running's it's actually been around for a long time, but The modern version of it, the most popular version is trail races. Like, you know, you have in marathons, you have the Boston Marathon. In ultra running, you have the Western States 100, which is a 100-mile race in basically through the mountains in California.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the equivalent of the Boston Marathon. It's really hard to get in that race. They only take 367 people, and you have to qualify
You
to
know,
do it.
that's local to us here. Auburn
Yeah.
is like, what is
Yeah.
this? Hour and a half to get to Auburn from here.
Well, if I ever get in there, I'll come in and stay at your house. But the
No, you
but
won't.
that's the
No
flavor
way.
for ultra running. The most popular races are all trail races, but
Right.
the oldest version of ultra running are multi-day or timed events. Those go back into the
6-day track events,
6
right?
days, 10 days, yeah.
In a
Like
track.
in the late 1800s, they used to have competitions where people would go around the half-mile track at the polo grounds, the racetrack, for days on end, and people be in the stands. This is before any ball sports. They'd be in the stands watching them and betting on the. That's the oldest. That's the oldest format in ultra running or timed events, and that was the last format I came to. I was like, I'll hate those. I'll hate running around a track. But when I finally tried, 3 days at the fair at the Suffolk County Fairground in May in New Jersey, 72-hour race. You go around a 1 mile loop as many times as you go around it, and I loved it. I just loved it. And I've done the 6-day down there a couple of times, and I love timed events because it's to me, ultra running it's a chance for you to see what you're capable of every time you toe the starting line. And the timed events are they're the purest one of those things, because I'm going to do the Finger Lakes 50K again this year. It's going to be like my 10th or 12th time, and I know that course like the back of my hand. It's a 15.5-mile loop through the Finger Lakes National Forest, and I love it. But I'm pretty sure I'm capable of doing it. But you know, when I towed the starting line at the Conquer the Wall 47-hour race this weekend, it was like, what am I capable of doing here today and tomorrow? And I found out. I found out I was good for 86 miles with a rucksack on. But that's the beauty of ultra running, especially timed events. You find out exactly what you're capable of.
Second overall, too. You're 64. They got a lot of 8 people, all different ages, but you're overall second in the whole place. That's amazing.
He just turned 65, I think he said.
Turned 65 this weekend during the race.
He's in a new age group. He's going to start dominating.
Yeah, no. He's already done.
55 to 60. No, that's in ultras. See, they go 10 years, but I just did a Boston qualifier, and it's every 5, which I like.
That's right. Marathons are different.
Because there's a big difference for me from when I was 60 to when I turned 65. I mean, it's huge. I mean, my times, I ran a 3:28 when I was 59 at Mesa,
awesome.
which I just did this. And, I can't even come close to that. Now I'm looking at trying to get sub 4 hours.
I just spoke with my friend Leslie Cohen. Her episode just came out the other day, and she just turned 70, and she's a marathoner. And she didn't really start running a marathon until she turned about 50, and she didn't get really serious about it till she was in her 60s. But now she's an age group dominator. Like, she's done the world. She was the Abbott World Masters champion the first time they did it in 2021. Like, she's fast. What I love talking to her about is, like, she's very aware. There's a couple of women who are super fast like her, but they're a couple of months younger than her. And so when she sneaks into now she's 70, she just got into this age group, right?
Yeah.
So she knows, like, she's got a little bit of time to set some records right now.
You gotta make hay while the sun shines, for sure.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I love hearing, Tim, about your attitude about the formats, and I'm so glad that I started talking to people about this and even doing the podcast, because I wouldn't have, you don't know what you don't know. So I went down the path of committing, and I've committed to do my first 100-mile race in April. I'm going to do my first 200-mile race in August, and I'm very excited about all those things. And I'm in, man. I'm in, and but now. And I have an understanding that I'm going to be doing this for decades. Every time I talk with someone everyone's got a different philosophy of sorts, but these are really impressive, these races. And I have this understanding maybe from talking to you about how you pick them. But instead of putting words in your mouth, tell me, especially now that you've talked about so many of these, how do you pick your races? Like what are the parameters when you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I know a lot of them you go back to more than once, but how do you pick them?
I'm kind of at a point, and I hate to call things like a career or anything, but I'm kind of at a point in my ultra running career where I really want to get to at least 50, 100 mile or longer finishes. I've got a whole bunch of hundreds in my schedule, and I know where, I don't want to say where I'm stronger. I just know where I'm not weaker. The first few 100-mile races, like I'd done the Massanutten Mountain 100 2 years back to back in 2011 and 2012, and I did the Old Dominion 100 at the same period, also down in Virginia. And those are real. I mean, Massanutten's really a big, steep, gnarly trail race. I'm curious if I could go back and finish that again. I haven't done that in a decade, but I know, like, I've got the C&O Canal coming up in April. It's the next race I'm doing, and it's a great trail race, and it's got a little bit of up and down trail in it because the race headquarters is midway on the course, but it's basically running the C&O Canal, so it's flat, and you get 30 hours to finish the race. And if a ultra is generally flat or close to flat, not overly technical, not overly vertical, and they're almost all at least 30 hours, I feel like I have a good chance to finish that. I mean, it's going to take some massive effort to do it, but I generally finish them. It's like I did the Pine Creek 100 in September, and I hadn't done an ultra. I changed jobs in October, so I didn't do too many ultras this past fall, but I did the Pine Creek 100 last September, and that was the second out of 3 times I'd finished it. And the year before, I had timed out by 7 minutes at the mile 88 station. I was really pissed off about that, so I had to go back and get that right. But generally, if it's a flat race or a flat race format in a 100-mile race, I can finish the race in 30 hours. If it's longer, I have an even better chance. But if it's a timed race, if it's if I was really hoping with my rucksack to get to 100 miles and conquer the wall. I knew that would be an unbelievable stretch, and I couldn't do it. If I'd done that race 47 hours, just in the normal format, I would have gotten over to, I don't want to say easy, but I would have easily gotten over 100 miles. I would have got at least to 100, and that would have. So I'm sitting there thinking, why did I do the rucksack? I could have had another 100 in my resume, but no, you had to go try the rucksack thing. But
Right.
I pick a lot of races because I think they're interesting. Like I've got the Buckeye 200 on my schedule. Again, that's a race I love. You go from Lake Erie in northern Ohio all the way to Wellsville in southern Ohio, on the southeast Ohio, right on the Ohio River. Then you turn around and go back, and that's a 200-mile race.
That's 200 miles.
I love the longer journey run. Yeah, it is. It is. I love the longer journey run races like Vol State and Heart of the South and the Fools across upstate New York. But there's only so much. If I could, I'd do those all the time. But there's only so much PTO, and you only have so much time off from work. I'm still working, so I look for as many long races as I can do that are not what they call really technical trails, where I might not finish them because they're too vertical for me to finish them in that amount of time. Because it's like Kevin was saying, he's not as fast as he used to be. I was never a great trail runner, but I'm a much slower trail runner than I used to be. Although I'm on the wait list for the Eastern States 100 for some reason. You know, if they say you can come run it, I'm going to come try to run it.
Okay.
You know, so I'm just trying to finish as many 100-mile races as I can the next 2 years, see if I can get to 50, and maybe that'll be enough.
Where are
maybe
you
I'll
at
try
right
to go
now?
400.
What number are you on right now?
I am at 35 or 36 100-mile longer races finished. So
Well, come on, man. Yeah, you're going to
not
get
very
that for
far.
sure.
Yeah,
You're going to
we'll
have to have
see.
another goal pretty soon. How by 2027, you're like, I need another one now. Need another goal.
Well, if I have a big year this year, like finish C&O Canal, finish the Ghost Train 100, that's on a rail trail in southern New Hampshire. I love that race to death. 7.5 miles from Brookline, New Hampshire to Milford, New Hampshire, and 7.5 back. And you do that as many loops as you can do in 30 hours. And I've done 3 or 4 100s there. That's in my schedule. Oh, there's a lot more races that I've done in the past that are still in my schedule than races that I haven't tried. But it's like I'll see stuff like Conquer the Wall. I know the race director from Conquer the Wall, and I hadn't been down there. It's like, I'm going to go down there and win this rucksack thing. I didn't, but but I'm picking hundreds that I think I can finish. Like I'm running the Hamster Wheel in New Hampshire in October. No, actually November again. I did that last year. That's a really good event. You get 30 hours to do as many 4.25 mile loops as you can on their rail trail. Stuff like that.
So when you win a timed event, all that means is you have run the furthest, right?
Right.
It's 30 hours,
Right.
and the person who wins is the one who gets the furthest. Okay.
Right.
So
right.
have you ever done a backyard?
I've never had the guts to do a backyard. I keep saying I should try to do them, but you know, I'm just not that fast. I mean, it's like, and it sounds like it's like the race director Laz Lake says it's easy until it isn't. And it's like, you know I could get 5 or 6 or 7 yards, 4.2 miles per hour, but there's never an ultra where I haven't had a bad 20 minutes that I've ever done, and it's like, I mean, I keep telling myself I need to try a backyard and train for one and do one. Because you know what? If you can go to a backyard and you can drop 24 yards in the backyard, there's nothing on this planet you can't do. There just isn't.
Right.
If you can run 100 miles in 24 hours, and every hour you're doing that 4.2 miles, I'm never that consistent. I start off strong. It's like at Conquer the Wall. I started out great Friday night, went all night Saturday, slept for an hour, did pretty good Saturday morning. And then I was really weak until about midday Sunday. And then I had a great rest of the race. It's just, I have ups and down periods. I really should try a backyard though. I haven't had the guts to try one because I'm afraid I'll be like, oh, that Hardy guy timed out at 4 yards. We've never heard of that before. We don't know why, but that's just gutless. I don't know.
Well, I think I love the way you're describing it though, about why you wouldn't be doing it. But I think I learned about a backyard,
Here's the main reason
format.
I went though, Mark. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I know even I won't win one. 'Cause I wouldn't be good enough to beat the rest of the field. So even if I got 100 miles, I wouldn't get credit for it. And I want to get credit for 100-mile races. But on the other hand, I should try a backyard. I really should. Just to do it. Just to do it and finally, it's like when you're a teenager, when you finally decide, I'm finally going to go talk to that girl. That's what backyard is for me. It's like, I got to go talk to that race.
Listen, at least, even if you don't finish a single yard, you still did the streak. You still covered your mile for the day, right?
That's true.
Right. You still get
streak running.
The most important thing happened. You got a mile for the day. That's right. That's right. Hey, that's the way to look at it. I could just say, hey, I don't care if I don't win this. I'm just out here for my streak.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now that I'm glad that you guys are
me, but your streak's probably a day long right now. So what do you think of that, mofo?
Really?
Because
you don't even have a streak.
Most people that are running an ultra on Saturday are smart enough not to run the day before.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
So talk about that. Tim. So when I first started, my first 100 miles, I started looking at the rest day because I was using marathon programs that have
Right.
like a long run and, all the different elements of running, speed, hill, the whole thing. When I was doing that, I would take like my daily mileage would probably be up because I'm trying to do bigger miles, like 60 or 70. So I'm at least doing 3 miles a day, but then I have the long run. See, that's what I've always done is do a big long run,
Right.
every weekend. Because I don't, it's easier in a lot of ways.
Right.
But do you ever like think about that?
From which perspective? I mean, I, so are you talking about the day after, or are you talking about training for the race leading up?
Well, so what I'm talking about is like your normal training. This is not a
Right.
race. You're
Oh,
training,
okay.
but
Right.
you're also getting your run
How
in,
do I
but
get
you're
long runs
trying
in and
to
stuff like that?
exactly, and you're trying to
Right.
maximize what you
Right.
do because the race is on a certain day,
Right.
and you don't want to show up, all tired,
Right.
but you still keep the streak going. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, my training is really amalgamated over the years. I have figured out how to do longer races just by having higher mileage. It's like you're talking about leading up to your marathon. You had an 18-mile. You had to get a longer run in your calendar and keep doing them. I've had so many races in my calendar the past 6 or 7 years. That race is the training long run for the next race. It keeps me long
Right.
run
Yeah,
capable, you know. So
exactly. Yeah,
so so I have that. I have that in my baseline. It's not like
right. That's your base model.
it's not like Saturday comes up and it's like, well, I've got a race in 3 weeks and I haven't done 12 miles in, I haven't had a 12-mile day in whatever 4 months or anything like that.
Right.
Most of the days where I get out, I do two iterations a day. I get like 3 miles in the morning or 3 miles in the morning or at lunch. And then every night, Rusty and I are out for a 5 or 6 mile loop. So I'm doing, in the past 5 years, I've averaged 8 to 9 miles a day. And I've done a lot of races, so I have a lot of long runs in there. But if I'm in a 6-week window where I don't have a race coming up or anything, Saturday or Sunday will be, at least one of those days is going to be like a 13 or a 14-mile day. And my bigger races are Heart South and Vol State, where you have to carry a pack. So I'm always training with my pack with 6 to 8 pounds on it anyway. So I'm not trying to qualify for Boston anymore. So I'm not getting out there putting down an 18-mile run where I'm trying to get that thing done in 2.5 hours like I used to. My training is a lot longer and slower, but generally I'm getting 8 miles a day, Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, I might drop anywhere between 20 to 30 miles that weekend because I'll get either Saturday or Sunday is going to be 13 to 15 miles where Rusty and I are out. One of those days is household chores, and the other ones where I'm getting out doing, good miles in the morning, and then that night I get out and do an 8 or a 12-mile loop. I have so many races, I get a lot of long runs in, so I never get to the point where I feel like, I hadn't done a lot of ultras this year till I get for the 47-hour race, but I wasn't that worried that I didn't have enough long miles in, because in the last 3 years I've done 25 races that are really long. So that's still in my baseline. Back in the younger days of my streak, that was definitely challenging. I remember in 2010, I think was the first year I did the Mountain 100. That took me 34 hours to do, starting Saturday at 5 into Sunday afternoon. And the Monday run after that,
Brutal.
yeah, I mean, that was, I want to say my first 100-mile race. And that was it's a huge technical mountain race. I mean, it's not big mountains like you guys have out there, but there's like 23,000 feet of vertical elevation change. And the trails are really technical, lots of rocks and this and that.
Right.
That's a
And
lot.
I could-
That's a lot of
I could
gain.
barely-
That's a
I
lot
could
of
barely
elevation.
yeah, I could barely walk Monday morning after finishing that race. And Monday night when I started running, it was like, I don't even know if I could do this. But, after 100 yards, it felt a little better. And then after another 100 yards, it was like, okay, I'm actually moving. And I feel like I can
Right.
move. And that was like a 3-mile run. And it was like, yes. That's what, when I got back from the 47-hour race this weekend, like I finished that on Sunday and drove back Monday. And I hadn't done anything till I got home, like 8:30 at night. And I put my $18 Walmart shoes that are a size too big and 4 Triple E. That was the only thing I fit on my feet. And Rusty and I ran out to the top of the hill and back 3 times. And hey, I got 3
Is that
miles in
because
for
your
that.
feet were swollen up? Your feet were
Yeah.
swollen up
Well, yeah.
from the race?
My feet, my ankles were so swollen after a weekend full of my Alice pack, that they hadn't been like that I mean, they still are. But they can fit in normal running shoes again. But
Right.
I have these Walmart shoes I spent $19 on after finishing Ball State, and they literally look like clown shoes. They're so
Right.
big. I had to pull
Right.
those out of my closet just to get my feet in them last night.
And it
So-
doesn't matter how long it takes you either for the streak. You just got to do it.
No. You just got to get it done.
No. Yeah.
How about
I
some-
do watch my times, though. I got to be honest.
You
'Cause I
do.
post
He's
every
going
day.
fast,
I
Tim.
try
No,
to-
he's covering fast. He is not fucking
Yeah.
around out there. Strava lets
Yeah.
you know, oh, this guy's not fucking around.
Yeah, I'm not. I couldn't
Stra-
even try to keep up with Kevin
Strava,
anymore.
Strava sees my account and they say the opposite. They say, what the fuck is this guy doing out there?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
got to tell you, this has been my hardest recovery. It's my 18th, because Tim was telling me he's at 18 on marathons, street marathons, or in that neighborhood, right? And I just counted mine. I'm at 18 for street marathons. Actually, 2 of them are dirt. They're Biz Johnson. We have a local, but they're Boston qualifiers. But this recovery has been the toughest.
When
out of
was
all
this? When was this one? This is Mesa, right?
It'll be 3 weeks this Saturday.
Okay.
So,
The hardest thing to
and I'm
recover from
telling
is the-
you, I signed up for a local 5K, and all the speedsters will be there, and I was hoping to do decent, and I'm still wondering if I'm going to be recovered to just throw down like a 7:20 pace in a 5K. So we'll see.
You don't
That's
have to.
flying.
I don't have to, but it's a pride thing now. Everyone knows me in Reno. I have I've been in the paper. Tim knows about this. So you get publicity, and then I get nothing but shit,
That's a Reno celebrity. That's what happens. Before I forget, both of you, because you've done long distances, when you do the Vol State, the whole thing, Tim, is those, what does self-supported mean? So there's no crew, no pacers? Like how do you run these longer point-to-point races?
Yeah, at Vol State, you used to be able to run Vol State crewed, where you'd have a crew come out and support you the whole way. And there's nobody that I dislike enough on the planet to ask to come out and support me for 10 days of a race. I've always ran them solo. Although the first year I ran it, I destroyed my feet so much, a couple of people took pity and came out and said, hey, look, just take your pack off. We're going to be out here for 3 or 4 days. We'll give you some water when you need it. But no, Vol State, you can't be crewed anymore. I mean, you're on your own with what you can carry. And I say that though, but the people, it's the same course every year. I mean, it's the same routes every year, and the people at Tennessee embrace it. I mean, when you do the Boston Marathon or you do an ultra, there are aid stations all over the place. And when Lazarus Lake stood this race up, nobody knew about it. But that was 30 something years ago. There are
Right.
people that turn their entire front yards into aid stations. So
Okay.
I mean, basically, like when I do last annual Heart of the South, we don't know what the course is going to be. We're going to get on the bus on Wednesday and drive 300 miles somewhere. And the next day that night, they're going to email us the course, and then we follow it for the next 10 days. So in those races, I have my pack weighs about 8 pounds with all the stuff I could possibly carry that I think I might need, like 2 extra pairs of socks, wallet, toothbrush, stuff like that. But you want to keep your pack as light as possible so you can keep moving. And you live out of convenience stores and restaurants and stuff like that. If you want to stay in a hotel, you can stay in a hotel. I mean, if you leave the course to walk up the road to the hotel, you've got to come back to the course where you left it. But it's up to you how you spend your 240 hours to finish the race. Personally,
Okay.
my race pack gets really light, and I'll sleep on the side of the road somewhere or in a tactical hiding place so the police don't come up and wake me up because they think I'm a vagabond, which that happens all the
We
time.
don't want that.
The last time I did Fools, I was coming down through Lake Placid at 1 a.m. and it started pouring. So there's an ice cream shack. It's like, I'm going to lay down it was like 1 a.m. It's like, I can get an hour's sleep. I'm going to lay down here in this little ice cream store front porch behind the tables, get an hour's sleep out of the rain. And not 20 minutes later, there's a cop with a flashlight in my face. It's like, hey, who are you? Wake up, kind of a thing. So,
Yeah. What are you doing?
when I do these point-to-point races, it always pays off to find a tactical place to sleep if you could find one, because the police think you're they want to know what you're doing, basically.
Right.
I mean, at Vol State, if you're on the Vol State course, the cops are like, that's one of those crazy Vol State guys. Don't worry about them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I love those point-to-point races and ramping up and doing them.
In my head, I look forward to covering 100 miles and 200 miles and longer. But as I was planning how to do that, I really didn't. I picked the courses because it just seems crazy and it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. But I don't think I picked them with an understanding that I had any level of confidence that I'd be able to actually do it within the time allotted with the elevation change, So
Right.
I'm okay with that. Now I've totally made peace with it. And I'm training my ass off and I'm going to do it. But I'm somehow in my hand, I'm really grateful to really start to learn more and more about all the other formats because,
Which race are you doing?
I'm definitely going to, what's that?
Which race are you doing?
I'm going to do the Leona Divide 100 miler in April. So that's 100 miles and it's 16,000 feet of vert, 16,400, something like that.
Right.
So not that much. And I have 33 hours to finish. It's challenging, but I have 33 hours to finish. I'm slow as hell, but I'm getting stronger. And therefore that means I am getting faster. So that was my big realization. Like, I need to get stronger and that will help me get faster. And it's working. Right. So we'll see if it works in time. And then I signed up for Bigfoot in August last year. I signed up for the lottery. So it's the only lottery that when you win, the first thing you do is smile and then you give them your credit card. Yay! I won.
Yeah.
Oh, here's some money.
You won. Pay at the window.
Those are
man.
I mean, it sounds like, okay, it's 100 mile and then it's a Bigfoot's, what's that, 200 and Moab's 240. So it's like they're two completely different races, though. At Leon Divide, I think 100-mile ultra is as challenging as anything out there because you get 30 hours. And if you're not an elite ultra runner where, I'm thinking I'm finishing in 20 to 24 hours. If you're a slow guy like me, and you got to come in at 30 hours, Saturday night is into Sunday morning. It's a win if you're just moving forward in a straight line.
Right.
And if you're road marching and you're walking 3.5 miles an hour, it's a win. Because if you just keep moving forward, you'll get to the finish line. In the 200-mile races, you know, it's like I do a conference call for all the new people at Vol State and HOTS every year that have never done
Okay.
one of those things. And it's like,
Yeah.
you just, you're not, don't, you know, a lot of them have well, I've done a 100-miler, but I don't know if I can do this. Like, it's not 100 miles in 30 hours. You've got to do 50K a day, and you can do that on any given day in 10 hours. So you just got the mindset. You just got to keep moving forward. And at Bigfoot, I think what is it, 96 hours? You got 4 days to do it.
Yeah, 200. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of vertical, beautiful country. Maybe you get to see
44,000
Bigfoot,
feet.
which would, yeah. I mean, the key is just to keep moving forward. You know, the key is that's the thing in longer ultras. It's like if you can just keep moving forward, then you're good. And the thing with longer ones like Vol State and 100-milers, they will wear you out. It sounds weird because they're a long ultra marathon, but they will wear you out, especially Vol State. I tell everybody this. That race is going to start wearing you out mentally when you're on the bus ride the day before, because you're going to be riding, and by lunchtime, you're going to be like, man, I've been riding all morning. I'm only halfway in this friggin' race.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh my God, I got to cover this all on foot. The longer races will wear you out mentally. It's like at Conquer the Wall, Saturday morning, I'm like, well, if I run this for this and that, by Sunday night at this, I'll be finished at this amount of time. It's like, stop.
Right.
Don't I always in an ultra, it's like I tell people my mind is way too little to be out wandering around towards the end of the Vol State course on day one on Vol State, because it's just out there getting in trouble and wearing me out. You know, it's like
Right.
just, you know, you just got to keep moving forward and trust to the process, because if you keep moving forward, you're going to get to the finish line. You just are. The thing that's going to keep you from moving forward is this going sideways up here more than anything else. It really is. I mean, bad weather stinks, but you know, I've been in some races where the weather's been the worst it's ever been at that race, and I love that because I can say I finished that race and I didn't think the weather was that bad. You know, I mean, it's like I like the first 100 I ever finished, the Guts Reactor run. It was the first 100-mile I finished. I was 0 for 3, and this was March 2010 in the mountains of northern Georgia. I was in the school. I got home from Afghanistan and had to go to school immediately right after that, which was great. But it was in Georgia, so I hadn't finished a 100-mile race yet, and I went and did that. And the weather was so terrible. Like, they had a 100-mile race, they had a 50-mile race, they had a 50K race, and the weather was so terrible. It just poured rain before the race even started. It was 40 degrees, pouring rain, freezing cold. The race was so terrible, the race director told everybody in the 100, if you want to drop to the 50K, we'll give you credit to finish. But I ended up finishing, it was the first 100 I finished, and 77 people started, and I have one of the 16 belt buckles, and then they never did the race again. So
wait, what was that one called?
There you go.
That's pretty crazy. What was that one called?
It was called the Guts Reactor Run. 100-mile race, and they only did it one time because the weather was so terrible. They're like, we're never doing that again. And they, like 16 or 17 of us finished, and I was one of them. It was my first 100-miler. When you finish a 100-miler, they give you generally a belt buckle. It's my first belt buckle, and there's only 17 of them on the planet, and I have one because I finished the race. But I mean, the weather
that race is not even up on Ultra Sign Up.
The weather was horrific, and it got worse as the whole race went on.
Here's the thing, you guys. This has been amazing. Thank you very much for this. Here's a couple of challenges. Number one, I'll leave it up to you, but you got to find another guy. And it would be fun and funny if that other guy is also behind you guys on the run streak list, and search him up, some crazy dude, because it's wonderful that you're connecting. And it's a little, you know, there's no reason not to have you all connected a little more, because it is fucking inspiring to see you guys totally different from the different universe and perspectives. But here's the thing. The thing is, we've been on the earth a long time, and maybe people don't tell you this enough, but maybe I get to do it because I'm just here for it. But you guys have some wisdom individually and collectively. Well, you got that wisdom because you've been on the earth for a long time. all of your military exploits, the fact that you didn't join up till you were 30, the fact that you both start these streaks not when you're, a young man, pretty impressive. And to hear you both share your experiences about running other races while you're maintaining the streak is just inspiring. And so I don't know when the last time some dude your age who you don't know from Adam looks at you in the eyeball and say, you got some wisdom, man. You have wisdom. Embrace that.
Thank you. Hey, I got a discount at a store. It was called the Wisdom Discount. I love that. The senior
What?
discount. They go, oh, yeah, you qualify for the Wisdom Discount. I'm going, what?
What were they selling?
And
Those
I'm
are some
digging
smart
that.
marketers.
I don't think if I was consulting with people, I'd say never use senior discount. Use the Wisdom Discount.
Wisdom. So how does that sound? You each down to finding some other dude, like some other person, and a big dude that's even if you never even heard of them or don't know about them, would you do that?
Right.
I think it'll be fun. And we'll get them all on. We'll do it until we, it's like ultimately it's going to be a round table streak
Tim
round
and
table.
I'll, we'll talk about it and figure something out.
I mean, Tim's got enough races here scheduled. Kevin, maybe we can look at his schedule and figure out how to intersect with him at one of these races. Because there's no downside to running a timed race. I know I can run 30 hours. I can run 100 hours. It's just that I can't join a race that allows me to have 100 hours to finish something.
Right.
But if I can just run 100 hours, I can do that.
So I got the Vol race popped up because I learned about this in 2023. And I was running with this guy. His name's Ken Zemak. And he actually won this thing. 89 hours, 3 minutes, 22 seconds. But I was following him through the whole thing. Yeah, that's 2023. Vol State race results. But yeah, so I'm following him through here. And when he told me about it, when we were on a run in the mountains above my house here, I'm going, what? I couldn't grasp it because I'd never heard of such a thing.
Tim did 22 and 24. He didn't do 23, right?
He did in 23. I'm looking at it
There are a few people that have run Vol State anywhere close to that fast. That was an unbelievable race.
Yeah, and he's something. You can look at his ultra sign up. He's very.
No, but Tim, you did it in 22. You did it in 23. Did it in 2024.
Yeah, I haven't been back.
I mean, no, 22, 24.
Right. I did it in 24 the last time. I haven't been back there since, but I'm going to Heart of the South in June for sure.
And what is that?
I've done Ball State 5 times and Heart of the South twice.
Okay. And that's a similar format?
No, that's a 300. Last annual Heart of the South is 350 miles.
It's the same race director. It's the same format, but you don't know what the course is. And it's longer than Ball State. Heart of the South is always longer than Ball State. In fact, it says 350 miles, but you're going to get an option to get off the bus at 400 miles at Heart of the South this year, or whoever wants to get off the bus at 400 starts the course, or you can get off at 350. I'm getting off at 400.
Yeah, you're doing a 350 race. That's just for a participation medal. Is that what you're saying? Wait a minute. Have you done Barkley? Have you tried to get into Barkley or do Barkley? I don't know. Remember?
Do we really have to talk about Barkley?
We don't.
Yeah, I've been in Barkley twice.
Okay, let's hear it.
I did not finish a loop either time.
Oh shit!
It's tough, man.
Was Barkley your first Laz race, or was Vol State? What was your first Laz race?
No, my first Laz race was Strolling Jim, but I mean, I hadn't done Vol State or any of his other races, but I tried Barkley in 2012 and then again in 2019 and got my ass kicked both times. It's tough. Talking about Barkley feels like you're alibiing, but it's the hardest event on the planet. It is, and it's
they've had years where no one finished.
Yeah,
right?
this year. This year nobody finished.
No one finished this year. knowing for the last
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Tim, hearing about your travails and seeing your races, like this gives me an extra layer of understanding about how hard Barkley is.
In 2012, I did the Arrowhead 135 and I did the Badwater 135. And I had no issues with either one of those races. And I did Barkley in between them, and I didn't finish one loop on Barkley.
It's brutal. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and Barkley's a unique event. I mean, it's all vertical and it's all land navigation.
You're 50 at that
Yeah.
time. So you were 50 when you did the Arrowhead 135 in 2012. So you're 50. You're probably fit as hell. You're probably about as fit as you've been when you're 50. You do so many races, 2011, 2012. And, what was the most difficult thing? Was it the orienteering part of this, or was it the ripping your legs apart with the bushes and the bristles? And what was the toughest thing about it?
Everything. I mean, it's, you know, the, I mean,
Everything's tough.
one loop on that course, nobody knows exactly what the vertical is on it, but it's over 12,000 vertical feet. It's probably 13,000 feet. The easiest part of the course is when you leave the yellow gate where the race starts and you start climbing the south side of Bird Mountain and you're on a trail until almost to the top of Bird Mountain, and then you go off the trail to the left and cross the Pillars of Doom and everything. That's the easiest part of the course. And it's like 2.5 miles up a trail. There's at least 27 switchbacks. And then you cross the Pillars of Doom and you're looking for your first book on the other ridge line across the ravine. Right. And that's the easiest part of the course because it's the longest climb on trail. I mean, 60 to 70% of the course is off trail. So it's the vertical, and I'm good at land navigation. I mean, I've taken, except for Delta Force, I've taken every Army land navigation course and passed them all. So I know how to land navigate, but it's time consuming. And if you've never been on the Barkley course, you try to stick with a veteran that may or may not know their way around and they try to scrape you. That's what they call trying to lose you. And it gets really challenging. I mean, the second time I was there in 2019, I was with another guy from South Africa and we looked for the book on Fikes Peak for 3 hours. Yeah, I mean, we were already over the time limit. We had climbed up to the top of Fikes Peak looking for book number 8 or book number 9. And the weather during the day had been perfect. It had been like 68 degrees and sunny. By 7 o'clock at night, it was 28 degrees, and the rain was coming in sideways. We looked for that book for 3 hours before we gave up. It was just like, we're not finding it. Yeah. And we probably walked by it 50 times.
So in this last year, they ran for the first time ever, he ran the course in the counterclockwise. And I just heard an interview with one guy, and they found 2 other guys, and they did the first loop together, 16 books in total. But at one of the books, they were on the wrong mountain peak and took more than 3 hours. And so they soldiered on and found all 16 of the books and finished. And sure. They heard taps when they came in. They came in at 27 or 28 hours, so they missed the cutoff. But what an experience that you had, right?
Oh, I mean, it's remarkable. Just being in that camp is just remarkable. You know, I was there sitting there after 2019. And Jerry Campbell comes up and he had sprained his ankle and he's like, Tim, tell me about your race. Jerry Campbell's one of 2 people that finished that race 3 times. And he's like, I want to hear all about your race. I'm like, Jesus, Jerry. You know, I mean, there's no place like it. The 2 times I've been there, I don't know if you remember the old Miller Lite commercials, but I felt like Marv Throneberry. It's like, I don't know how I got to come here, but here I am. You know?
Here I am. Yeah, there's 21 finishers total, and I think 28 finishes. So 21 finishers, 28 finishes. So there's like 2 or 3 people
21 mortals on the planet that finished that. The first year I tried it, more people had been in orbit around the moon than have finished that race. I mean, it's remarkable. It's so hard. It's so hard. I mean, there are there's some other races that are really difficult, that are really close to like the Iditarod 1000 is a really difficult race, and you could actually die doing that race. I mean, you're not going to die
Right.
at Barkley unless you fall in a
Yeah.
ravine and nobody looks for you, which could happen. But, the Iditarod, you could perish out there, out
Right.
crossing, going to Nome, Alaska, and fall through the ice or something. So incredibly difficult. Barkley is, people ask
It's
me
unique.
about it. I feel like I'm alibiing, but it's incredible. I mean, there are incredibly good ultra runners that have done that race that nobody knows they've done it because they never want to tell anybody they were doing it. They
Right.
just
That's
didn't
why
know.
I'm here to
It's
cheer
so
you
hard.
on, man. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said when I started, it's rarefied air that you guys have been run a mile a day for 18 years. Number one,
yeah.
that's the first set. But all this to look at how you've run and where you've run and how you've done it, it's pretty amazing. So I celebrate it, man. It's pretty amazing you were even able to toe the line. And the idea that Badwater is a footnote in your story, like what? That's insane. The bad that ball 500K across the
Well,
roads, like oh my God.
I tell people that is because it's like I had a really good year in 2012, except for Barkley. I mean, it was like,
Well,
but
yeah, it's weird because if no one's finishing and you were there and you made
Right.
it there and you,
right.
because you got to
Oh, yeah.
jump through hoops just to get to the camp, right? You
Oh,
gotta,
yeah, it's designed to be just this side of impossible, and
right.
it's well designed. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a climb in 2009 up the north side of Bird Mountain where you're just going straight up a ridge line in the open woods. Literally, I think it's the hardest. That climb is the hardest thing I've ever done in ultra running. It just kept. It was big and steep and vertical, and just kept going and going. Not as it just open woods, but you had to climb over deadfalls to get around stuff, and then like 8/10 of the way up, there's this huge head wall that's like 25, just like this massive granite wall that went around the whole. I forget what they're called, but just like a vertical stone face on the wall where there's only two ways to get through it, and you had to circle in one direction to find a little cleft in the rock to ease up through and then keep going to the top of the mountain. I remember thinking, that was in 2019. I'm like, this is the hardest single thing I've done in ultra running, climbing this ridge line right now. I mean, it was just like you're going over these logs, and it's like I hope I don't step on a rattlesnake because it's nothing but the ground's covered with leaves, and it's like holy cow. But it's a remarkable event. I love following it online because it's like it's so. I mean, I'm not ever applying for it. The oldest person ever finished that was 50 years old. But if a friend of mine keeps trying to get in, and if he gets in, I'm going to crew him, so I'll get to go back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the one crew member you can be that one guy.
No, the year I went there, I was in 2019. I was solo, and a friend of mine from Ball State, she was there with a couple other guys. She's like, I can't stay. Please tell me I can be your crew member. She's like, I'll do anything to be your crew member. I'm like, okay, let's go tell Les. You're my crew member. And it's like, you don't need a crew member. I mean, it's like, you're going to come into the camp, fill your water bottle, and head back out, unless you're John Kelly and Jerry Campbell and you have an hour to sleep or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
That's a pay it forward moment for her. She really needed you to say yes. So that was good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. How about this? Either one of you want to ask each of you ask the other guy something that you really are curious about that this conversation has sparked.
Do you have some, Tim? One thing I'd like to ask you is, have you ever had the discussion in your brain that maybe you're going to end it at a certain point, or has it always been?
That's what I was going to ask you too. I mean, we've never spoken before. We've traded, some email here and there, but I feel like I know you really well just because we have this streak thing going, and it's like I was saying earlier. It's like I'm not sure how I would end it. It's like I've thought about it. It's like. Because people in the ultra list are like, streaks are stupid. They're not going to last.
Yeah.
They don't help you and this and that. But it's like, I've thought about that. It's like, and we're over 18 years. So I'm like, do I take this thing to 20? You know, I mean, and you know, one of the things I didn't bring up that is the most remarkable thing is about a streak that we haven't even talked about. I'm sorry, we haven't even talked about is there's a luck factor. I mean, there's been
Right.
plenty of times where I've done stuff
That's
like
true.
Hots and Vol
Yeah.
State where I've almost been hit
Yeah.
by vehicles, and it's like,
Right.
I mean, all of it, you're only one average injury. I mean, you know, we've got horses, and one of my horses is green, and he threw me off him once. You know, it's like that could have been a broken leg right there in the end of my streak. So
Right.
there's a luck
Right.
factor, but I'm not sure if it's luck or focus brings good fortune. But I've thought about that. Do I? Yeah, and I guess my longer-winded point is, you know, I'm not assuming I'll get to 20 years, but I'm
Right.
going to take it to at least 20, unless I have an accident. But I
Right.
don't know how I'd end it either. I think it
Well,
would
and
have
that's
to be
the
a
thing.
milestone.
Yeah.
I mean, it started on December 13th, so ideally I'm going to end it on December 12th at some point. But I
There you
don't know
go.
when. I think it would have
There
to
you go.
be. I think it would have to be a big metric year, 20 or 25. But then I think
Right.
I'll feel like I lost, you know, my best dog or something at that point. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, my
Yeah, it
biggest fear,
becomes
my biggest fear isn't quitting it. My biggest fear is how am I going to feel the day after I haven't done it. That's
exactly.
I don't have an answer for that.
If you've had it that long, that's why I just told Mark that I'm just going to keep going. I'm not
Yeah.
going to worry about it. But I do talk to my wife like every milestone. Like my next big milestone for the local community is December, because they've done an article for 5,000 and 6,000, the local newspaper, Reno Gazette Journal. So 7 comes up in December. So there's always that too. And this guy, we stay in touch. And he goes, hey, his name's Jim. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I think I'm going to make it. We're looking okay. But I mean, it's in December. Anything
Yeah.
can happen.
It's so interesting.
It's like December 4th, I think, is when I hit 7,000. Because I sort of try to do the old timers. I got the impression that it was all about the comma, so versus the years, it's all about, have you ever heard about that? But it's getting that extra comma from 6,000 to 7,000 to,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's a big achievement. Because that's
I
like
love those huge.
years.
I love those huge metric days. Like Friday,
Yeah.
this is weird, but Friday will be day 6,666 for me.
Right, and I went through that
I only
one.
know it because I
Great
looked
day.
that up. I looked up what day am I on today to come on here, and it's like, wow, Friday is going to be a really cool number. That
Yeah.
comma is always really cool. That thousand
Yeah,
comma for sure.
yeah.
It
And
just
so
feels
that's
like
what
an accomplishment.
it does.
It would
Yeah.
just be. Yeah, I thought, there's plenty of days like, God, why am I still doing this? But it just, what it's 2 days after quitting feel like? It's like, wow.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
I don't want to be that guy. It's like,
Right.
it's like Mark was saying, what's your motivation to finish a race? It's like, my next race is the C&O Canal 100. And I want to be that guy that's standing on the far side of that finish line. I want to be that
Right.
guy. I want to be that person, but I don't know that I ever want to be that person that's 2 days done with my streak. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with
It's hard to
you.
let go.
It
So,
is.
Well,
I'm
you
glad
made it
you
such a
shared that with me because I've never had a definitive answer for anyone to that question. But I do think that I think I'm going to have to be stopped to feel good about it. Something happens where, I had a little surgery in 2024.
and that's probably what it'll be.
Skin cancer thing. And, they, right when you walk in, they tell you, hey, 5 weeks, we don't want you around. And they knew who I was. And I go, you're going to make me give up an 18-year streak? I mean, come on. So she was a runner and she worked with me, and she goes, just make it your slowest mile. So with all those sutures, I made it. It was something.
Yeah.
And I was wearing the only thing I did
I
different is
love
I
that
was
story.
wearing compression. I was wearing a compression sleeve. But that's the only time, because if something happens to your upper body, you're good to go,
Yeah.
right? For the
Yeah.
most part.
Sure. Anybody
The
can run
the
with a broken arm.
You
That's
can.
yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
has been
I thought
painful though?
about that. It's like, I will
Yeah.
run and risk the sutures for sure. I mean, it's, it would have to be recovered from open heart surgery or something like that. But I'm a runner, so hopefully I don't have to deal with that at any point.
Are there
Yeah, I
rules
mean, the
about
other day
that?
I was just, I'm
Can
sorry.
you are there rules about that? Like, what if you have like I can imagine both of you having one of those little scooters that you got to kneel on, and it's just one leg is all fucked up, and you can't do
I
that.
started with the old school people that said you can't use like crutches or any of that to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I have in my head.
Okay,
But
Right.
these people with the longer streaks, they've done some crazy shit to keep it going. That's one thing I don't want to do. I don't want to say, oh, yeah, I did it with crutches for.
what about
Right.
running, Kevin? What does the running mean? Like, technically,
Yeah,
I have a pretty slow pace sometimes, so people
right.
say you're not running. Technically, you're
You're
not
not
running, and I'm
running,
like,
it's more of a walk. Yeah.
fuck you, I'm running.
So
I know I'm running.
that's a
It's good
good
enough for me.
question. I actually, because I'm a runner, that's how I started doing it, is loving to run and going against the time. That I know when I'm running, and what I do is I do both now. I log hike miles. So if I'm really hurting, but I want to get 10,000, because I had like a 43, you do streaks within your streak, right,
Sure.
Tim? So I had this streak going with 10,000 training for the marathon, and I kept it going to at least 10,000 steps. And then I stopped that the day before because I just wanted to do an easy run and then do the marathon because I was trying to get a BQ, which I did, but it may not be fast enough. So, but it's great to have it, right? Why not? Just
Yeah.
keep going until someone
I
stops.
cannot support either of you deciding to stop. That would be fucked up. It would mess you up mentally. Closest I can think. Although, if it happened, like you said, you
Right.
could start again. It's kind
You
of
could start again. and
reminds
you
me
have
of
a retired
sobriety.
streak.
It really feels like sobriety more than anything. Because once you
It
stop
almost does,
drinking,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't, all of a sudden it's been 10 years, 15, 20 years. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, it's easy enough to keep not
you could.
drinking or not doing your
But
shit.
it's
whatever.
hard to, if you have like an 18-year streak, do you want to go back and start? I don't know.
No, you don't.
That may be the time to retire.
What's your wife's names? That's the key is this. You just got to keep
Tammy, yeah.
the mothership happy. Then keep running. She will not have nobody in your families are going to appreciate if you guys stop. So just get that out of your head, would you? It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
But you can do it clean though. There's a certain elegance.
True.
I'm gonna right, Tim. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it in 20 years or whatever.
Listen,
But that sort of is a cop out because maybe your body says, dude, you could go 30,
Yeah.
You don't know, but it's possible,
I'm a lawyer now, and I was a lawyer with my first wife, who was also a lawyer. So we decided that we were going to time our divorce so that it would end exactly at 10 years. So we tried to extract some elegance from that. And every time I tell that story, people are like, "Oh, that's BS." Like, what? Get out of here. You can't get a medal for that, Mark. Get the hell out of here.
Hey, it's been good though. And I hope it's inspirational to people. I really do, because it's a great way. My wife, I always bring this in. She has like a 14-year-old Tim walking streak. She wanted
Wow.
me to set her something up, and all she has to do is do 15 minutes a day. But she's going on
Right.
15 years. So
That's awesome.
she's
See?
in it with me, just in a different way. She's not a runner.
That's
She's a
probably more
walker.
healthy for you than running, quite honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I take a lot of health benefits out of running. I think it's really helped me. I mean, I was saying until just this last 3 weeks ago, I haven't been sick till 2009. And I can't say that because I got sick right before the marathon. And everyone in my family who lives in this house, there's 2 other people, they were sick also. But, I was, I could keep going. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it keeps you healthy.
yeah,
I got right around New Year's 2020, before anybody even knew who it was.
yeah,
Um, we had COVID coming into my house, so I got a case of COVID. I thought it was the flu, but I just ran through it.
yeah,
But I don't
yeah,
remember. I don't remember being sick before that. The last time I think I
right.
was really sick was in a school in the Army, because whenever you're in a school in the Army, everybody comes from all over the world, and everybody brings every virus with them, and so everybody gets sick. And I mean, I think it literally kills viruses. I think they can't
Yeah,
stand up to it. I
yeah,
don't know the science
I
behind
agree
it,
with
but
you.
I'm almost never. And I've never really been sick, but I'm never sick,
Yeah,
not ever.
yeah. Well, and
Nobody.
it's a lot of it is a mindset too. I really believe this because Tammy was saying, "Oh, I feel," and I just said, she said, "Well, maybe that's why you didn't go faster in the marathon." I'm not having it. I'm just saying, "Hey, man, I made it. I got a BQ. I'm taking it."
Come on, man. Boston qualifier is the real deal. Yeah. You listen, there's nobody's going to look at either one of you and say, "Oh, I'm concerned for his health." No one's going to say that.
That's true.
Nobody,
Well,
nobody.
look at us. I mean, we're all looking pretty good. We're in our 60s. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there may be
Check.
something to it.
I think there is. So find us another guy to bring on board in a couple of months. You got a crazy, excellent looking schedule here. Maybe after the last Heart of the South race, that's after the 350 in June, and then less than 2 months later, he's coming back to Buckeye 200. Maybe we catch you in the middle of that stint in between June and August. I'd love to hear, Tim, what the hell's going on, and it would be real. The structure is, let's find another streaker and see how they handle it.
Okay.
Sound good?
Okay.
All right, you guys are
Yeah. Sounds
awesome.
great.
Thank you very much. We know where Kevin's on Strava and social media. Are you on social media at all, Tim? I don't even know.
I'm on I'm on Facebook and I'm on X. I'm not on Strava, but I might get on there now just to chase Brunson on there.
Is that right?
But
Chase me
no,
around.
I've got a bunch of friends on there. I've never got on it because
Yeah,
it's like, do I need to open up
yeah,
another app constantly? But
right.
I mean I might start doing that.
Hey,
Well,
once
I'm
you make
definitely
the
on
move,
Facebook, and I'm
it's
definitely
like cracked. It's hard to stop. I
yeah,
like all the data, and I like the routes.
yeah.
We live in a place where there's always a different way to go, and I'll see someone do that route and go, "Wow, I'm going to go do it," and it's an extra
Right.
motivation because I do. You know what I do? I talked to Mark about it. Is I do a lot of just off trail, get to the top stuff on my own.
Right.
I enjoy it.
Right.
And when we were talking, I lost a pair of poles up in the mountains because I got fleeced by nature and got
Oh,
to
no
the
kidding.
top where I was going, oh, my poles are gone. I had to buy another pair, the clip on.
Jeez.
So,
You got to come up
yeah.
with a better story than that, man. You can't
You
just
think so?
say
It's a horrible story.
operator error.
But it happened. It happened, man. It's real life.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mother
I was
Nature
in
just took them.
this, I was working my way through this thick brush and I was just fighting, to get through this area. And when I got to the top, I realized, oh shit, my poles are gone. I had them in a little pack, the
Yeah.
waist pack. I had them in a waist pack. But have you went to waste packs real quick? Do you do that at all, or is it all the?
No, I've tried those and I've never found one I really liked. I just do the backpack.
Yeah. All right.
Feels
Yeah.
awkward. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to do everything I can to try to edit the whole thing today and see if I can get us uploaded on and launch it on Sunday. This will be the fastest turnaround ever, but I was really excited to kind of get you guys talking. So that's it. We'll keep an eye out for each other, and thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well,
thank you, Mike. Thank you, Kevin. It was great talking to you guys.
Welcome.
Talk
You're
to you
welcome.
soon.